Okay, so it's about that very time again. We have to congregate here to bring you developments in Nigeria and those outside Nigeria. It's called the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and it's already 18 minutes past 9 a.m. and we are ready for today's conversation. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and the papers I watch with interesting stories. We are going to bring you all of that and some other stories outside the papers, because here in Anambra State there are developments that could be of interest to you. But before we bring you all those things, I just let you know that we are always live on our social media platforms to widen this very conversation. You can get us on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. On YouTube and Instagram, we are Udala Radio. And don't forget that for YouTube, you need to subscribe so that each time we post a video, you'll be able to get notification and not miss out on any of the talking points we raise on this platform. I'm not alone. Tony Lisambeki, the analyst, is in the studio. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, India, Anambra. Good morning, Indonesia. Donidu. Good morning, Ndi Osumo. Good morning, Ndi Afia, Ndi Oluwaka, Ndi Nkusi, Ndi Oloyibo, Ndi Nanye Foniya, the transporters, the commuters themselves, those they make use of public transport systems. INEC and Onyobona and Nabato Onyobona. Yeah, elders, but then we keep praying for those in captivity, the captives. It's one of the most trending issues as far as Nigeria is concerned. And there was a woman, probably, I don't know, there are people that may know her. She made a statement saying that we should pray over insecurity in the country. Nigerians blasted her. They dragged her. Say, why would you say that we should pray over insecurity when we have options, things we can do, things we can demonstrate? That nobody should use praying over something again in this country to receive the gullibles. But that's by the way. We thank God Almighty for His mercy, for His kindness, for His love, for making us to see a new day. Today being the 4th day in the month of June in the year 2026. You are welcome. Remember, we're back in the sanctuary to profess the truth in a way that may not please you. We are here to do the work of the Lord, the bidding of the people, especially because we must ensure that it is in conformity with the laid down procedures and laid down rules and principles and laws. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's a pleasure to welcome you. Just sit back and enjoy the program.
Okay, certainly you made mention of the gospel artist Yinka, who came out publicly to apologize after there was a backlash or severe backlash regarding her comments on the kidnapping of her school children in Oyo State. She was saying that we have to pray, but people are telling her that it's not time to pray, and she owned up her responsibility, apologizing, saying that people might have misunderstood her intent, and that tells us that Nigerians are no longer comfortable with the fact that everybody keeps on talking about the need for us to pray, whereas God has given us that very ingenuity for us to devise means on how to tackle challenges that might come our way. So that's one of the things that actually caught attention on the internet yesterday. Also, that same yesterday, the video of a journalist who took part in the protest that happened in Oyo State, almost half naked, also trended. The man said he's an investigative journalist who went to the town to investigate things himself, and his video yesterday was trending. He was just clad in panties during that very protest, and people were saying whether he took the protest very far beyond what was being talked about, or was that an expression of how desperate he was to see Nigeria get better, Tony?
Well, for me, he was on a different mission, but he was actually doing that to catch attention of the public, and that was why he was dressed in panties. And behold, his manhood was really on display. That was, in fact, exactly what caught the attention of many people. They were all looking at that, all eyes were on that, and possibly it was a strategy for him to get the needed attention, to push the message. Sometimes a messenger may first and foremost deploy enemies to catch attention, and then in the process, once the attention is gotten, he passes the message. Probably that was the strategy the young man used yesterday. But behold, the site was purely indecent in every sense. You don't terrorize our women that way. What are you trying to just show off? Well, that's by the way, but it was actually trending yesterday, just as you mentioned. Like many Nigerians were commenting on this. But we must be very serious with national issues. And I've said it many times. If you're serious about football, things that give us momentary pleasure, we should be concerned about things. Politics shapes our destiny. It's more reason everybody should be so much committed. There are those that when you talk about some of this, they say, "Oh, Nigerian case, you don't finish. Don't drag me in." And you are being at this receiving end. You are suffering it. You're suffering it. Most places, most times when I'm in the midst of some people, they'll be talking about one thing, either the price of cooking gas or the price of food items in the market or the price of transportation. They'll be talking about one thing or the other. But when these things are being discussed, you won't pay any attention. It's none of your business. But you see how you are connected to it. The national economy determines personal economy. The national economy determines personal economy because every being has got a personal economy. Your income and expenditures, how you make your money, bills you pay, these things are your personal economy. And you cannot extricate a personal economy from the national economy. That's more reason why every one of us should get involved. Want to sensitize our people, want everybody to be politically, economically conscious. That consciousness must transcend beyond bounds. And that's why we are here.
Okay, so that's why we are here this very morning. We are bringing the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Of course, it's Thursday, the 4th day of June, 2026, and we are ready for us to bring you the headlines this very morning. If you check the papers, you see some interesting stories. Here in Anambra State, though not actually making the front page of these very papers, the governor of Anambra State, Professor Owo Massacre, he was in Nnewi yesterday, and that Nnewi, he was able to tour about 4 different sites in his quest to bring about urban renewal in Nnewi, and he made a statement saying that there's going to be change. If Nnewi is going to be reckoned among the cities in the state, it has to have that very befitting status of a state known as the industrial town of Anambra State. But he said something that, of course, you cannot make an omelette without breaking some eggs. That means some things have to go for that kind of sustainable development to come into Nnewi. So in the coming days, we're going to see what is going to happen. That abandoned shopping mall at Nkwo Triangle, he was there saying that in the coming days, people are going to see what the state government is going to turn that very area into. So we watch out. Also, that same yesterday, the man known as Momlia Fulanya, he was at the court yesterday. He was at the Anambra State High Court in Oka, where he was arraigned. In fact, he came from the hospital, and during the arraignment, his lawyer or his counsel pleaded that he should be remanded in a hospital, where he should stay in the hospital and then be attending his court case. But the prosecuting counsel, who happens to be the commissioner for justice in Anambra State, argued otherwise, that is not done before the law. Before the law, he has to be remanded in prison custody, and that was what the court did yesterday, and that case was adjourned for next hearing. Then outside Anambra State, you talk about the commissioning of project that happened in Delta State. It's also in some headlines. And then yesterday, Baba Dati Ahmed was in the news and talking about the running mate to P2B in 2023 presidential election on the Labour Party. He was in the news because there was an interview he granted where he spoke about their presidential bid in 2023 and why he did not join Obi in Labour Party. And he would one comment that made the headlines, where he said that he joined Obi on that ticket out of sympathy. According to him, Obi had reached out to about 2 to 3 persons who declined the request, but because of sympathy for Nigerian, for Obi, he decided to be on that very ticket. And then he also spoke about why he didn't quite agree with Obi to some extent. According to him, the man Obi operates is quite different from the way he operates. He believes that if we think that our mandate was stolen, we have to stand on it and do everything possible to ensure that it's recovered. He gave an example of, Nadeko, Tinubu, and what have you not. Outside that, if you check Vanguard, you see headline about the cost of healthy diet rising further in Nigeria. And guess what? They are telling us that the cost of a healthy diet in Nigeria is about 1,500 and something naira. That it rose from 1,400 naira. This is according to MBA statistics. But if you look at the reality, Tony, if you want to eat in salad soup with, well decorated, you know what I mean? Yes. So I don't know if you can get that for 1,500, but that even gives an idea of how the cost of living is actually getting on the high side in Nigeria. Then talk about other stories. Mali has banned use of motorcycles outside major cities. They're trying to find a solution to their problem because they have discovered that these terrorists do use motorcycles to operate. Now they are saying outside major cities, nothing like operation of motorcycles. Would that be extreme? Time is going to tell. Then yesterday too, we heard about the conviction and sentencing of 4 suspects in the Owo church attack that happened many years ago, and 4 of them were sentenced to death by hanging. We have seen different reactions coming from that very one. Then there's a report coming from UN saying that looted weapons from Libya have been found with Nigerian extremists, and that tells you that once there's a conflict somewhere around our neighbors, anywhere in Africa or even anywhere across the world, it doesn't spell good for the world because that becomes an opportunity for weapons to be looted, and in one way or the other they find themselves into the wrong hands who use that to perpetrate evil. And on a final note, the issue of state school scheme is also in the news because yesterday it became it became a talk for the Senate where they debated saying that there are gaps that need to be plugged in that safe school initiative. I think it's about 140 billion initiative. And guess what? To what extent have we been able to pursue that? How much more talk been about the deficiency or what have you not? Then, so these are some of the things you can see on the papers. So by the time we begin to bring the headlines, you get to hear more about them and later what the issues are for our talking point today. So stay with us. We are going to be right back in a moment to bring the headlines.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and this is The Polity. My name is Franklin because it's now 9:31 a.m. and we have to bring you the headlines we have on the papers this morning. 4 of them. We have Nation, Vanguard, Punch, and the Guardian newspapers. And we'll begin with the headlines we have on the Punch. The big story there says over 600 pupils teachers abducted despite 145 billion naira safe school scheme. That story can be found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And they have some riders. They include Amnesty International says scheme derailed by corruption, bureaucracy. And that one says bandits demand detainees release in exchange for abducted or your school children. I think we have to get back to this again. It says bandits demand detainees release in exchange for abducted or your school children. And this one says NU2 threatens school shutdown as Oyo Assembly rejects negotiation with bandits. That can be found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Police launch manhunt as gunmen abduct Adelabu's sister nephews on page 20. I'm talking about former Minister of Power, Adelabu. His sister was abducted yesterday alongside her children. As I saw the video of how the abduction happened, even inside the street. And this one says banks make 209 billion naira from account maintenance fee in 3 months. Banks make 209 billion naira from account maintenance fees in 3 months. On page 9, that tells you the value of those 10 naira, 50 naira, 80 naira they do deduct. If you know the number of Nigerians who have bank accounts, that explains to you the amount of money they make from this. And another headline here says, Owo church attack, 4 terrorists sentenced to death. Aide hails verdict. That story is on page 7. And this one says, voter data leak, police detain INEC official, quiz Wike's aide on page 29. Looted weapons from Libya found with Nigerian extremists, UN. That story can be found on page 2 of Punch newspaper. We get over to The Guardian. On Guardian newspaper, the big story on page 6 says, worsening insecurity raises concerns over Amotekun's capacity and the funding. On page 6, IGP Disu and his pledge to overhaul police operations. That's an editorial on page 42. Okay. Let's go again. Not okay. That's page 12, not 42 actually. New regulations to allow Nigerians sell surplus solar energy to discos on page 18. That's the business page. Nigeria's democracy at risk without judicial reform, says Justice Idris. The story is on page 29. Why do they keep on repeating this from time to time? Everybody knows that it's going to take reform to bring our judiciary back to reckoning. But who is going to bail the cat? Who is going to lead this very chase? Vandalism, blackout fears loom in North Central Corridor as 6 transmission tower collapse. That's on page 30. Senate raises sugar tax, passes malaria agency bill on page 5. PPDC frees 7,801 detainees, warns about funding crisis in sexual assault centers on page 30. Bandits abduct 6 polytechnic students in Zamfara as Senator decries rising insecurity on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. At NDC NEC, Dixon declares party ready to take power on page 3. Portfolio investment pushes capital importation to $10.37 billion on page 3. Owo Massacre, court sentences 4 to death by hanging on page 7 of Guardian newspaper. Food crisis, cost of healthy diet rises further. MBS report on page 19 of Vanguard. We're now over to Vanguard newspaper. Gridlock returns as struck short my 2 axis of Oshodi-Apapa Expressway on page 4. Owo church attack, court sentences 4 Al-Shabaab terrorists to death by hanging on page 14. Labour warns governors over 100,000 naira minimum wage proposal on page 8. 7-month-old baby among 13 abducted by terrorists in Borno on page 27. He has a writer, Tambuwal, ADC Goba candidates. There says killers of 40 church worshippers sentenced to death by hanging. 2 to die for kidnapping. Troops kill 50 SWAT terrorists in Northwest. Then on page 6, you see story like police find body of kidnapped victim with suspect. Adelabu's sister kids abducted in Ibadan on page 36. Abduction. Senate 6 expansion of safe school initiative on page 3 of the Nation. New judge fixes Monday for Balagombe versus ADC seat. New judge fixes Monday for Balagombe versus ADC seat on page 37 of the Nation. Then on page 34, First Lady launches Tinubu torchbearers. On page 38, immigration, 110 Nigerians for deportation from US. Okay. And the last headline we have on the front page of the Nation says, weapons looted during Libyan conflict in Nigeria, says a UN. These are the headlines we have this very morning from the papers. If you check inside paper of the likes of Guardian, the likes of Vanguard, you see the headline that says NDC NEC, Obi urges aspirant to accept a result. This is the version of the Vanguard. Then if you check Guardian, it says, if you check Punch, it says Obi NDC leaders urge aspirant to accept primary result. And yesterday I saw some persons jubilating in Idem, Northern South, claiming that from the official result, that one Eric won the election. But I haven't seen the declaration yet from the NDC next. So we're waiting for them to see whether they're going to give us the actual result or the result from the primary elections which the party conducted. That was since Saturday. And we asked the same question. PDP came, they said PDP was very bad. APC came, they said APC was very bad. ADC came, they said ADC was very bad. NDC came, and people are singing the same song about political parties in Nigeria. Kezifa Gema Bana, West Tayani, stay with us.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so thank you once more for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. My name is Franklin Obekatono Disambeki on the analysis desk. Let's begin from home. The governor of Anambra State was in Nnewi yesterday, where he took a tour of some places, which he deemed feel that those places need to have a torch for developments so that Nnewi can have a facelift and can be classified as a city in modern day Anambra State. Talking about the places he went to the abandoned shopping mall at Nnewi Triangle. He went to Nnewi Post Office area. Then there was a place he went to a government property along Emekot Road in Nnewi. He also went to a place which is like an expanse of land between Umudim in Nnewi and Owo. That place was formerly earmarked for housing project or estate project. And at the end of the day, he addressed them saying that he has come to do what's supposed to have been done a long time ago. He talked about the roundabout, that some things have to go there so that they'll be able to expand the place, create a good environment that can provide for sustainable development. But he told them a story of what he did at his own town in Sofia, where he wanted to do some structures, and they said, the LOC said, and the LOC did not say. It's better you hear from him. So after hearing from the governor, we come in with our analysis. So let's get to listen to the governor of Anambra State.
The shrine say Sofia before I welcome the by back on led by where just say along see well on and on what a Busarani payloader. Bocharia, Ata the place. Get the butter, the butter. So I just be there no, a way for no name. I could to if I my book where them ma or that's also. Did I could to if or that's also. But no for Anambra of the next generation. What we are doing today ought to have happened maybe 60 years ago. But I said that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago. But the second best chance is now. So we're regenerating, we're rescuing our cities from being slummed and going nowhere. Because in the next 45 years, you expect about 38 million people in this state. Without the kind of thing we are doing today, it will be impossible for people to move around. And that's why we're dualizing and gazetted all trunk A roads for dualization. It should have happened before, but we will dualize the much we can. We're in a haste. Wherever we stop, next set of governments will continue. Okay? Yes. So that people will be able to move around. Whatever we're doing here, we're very intentional. We ask the question, how will it fit in the next 50, 100 years? And that's what we're doing. That's why this visit is very critical. And I am glad we're going to begin. There are basic things you have in a place that you can call it a city. Without them, there is no city. Currently, Nnewi has grown as if you like, chaotic ghetto, as it were. But we are going to breathe life into it.
Okay, certainly you heard that. In his first term, I heard people from Nnewi saying that he abandoned that very area, and later I learned that the likes of Bank Road, that they have been fixed now, because last time I was at Nnewi, the Bank Road had not been fixed. But last week I had a conversation with somebody, and he told me that a good number of roads have been tarred in Nnewi now, that they enjoy it. And now the governor has come to Nnewi to inspect a couple of projects, saying that in the next coming days, or in the forthcoming days, they are going to hear from him. But he sounded a warning that it's going to come at a price. So how much price would that be, and how much would that be the project that he intends to bring? Talking about the future.
Well, if you talk about development, we know it comes at a cost. There's no doubt. There's no way in the world where development comes without something going down. We know very well. Listen to the governor. I know he was referring to the dualization of Epulobia, Nnewi, or Kija Road. I think he was actually making reference to that. And he was trying to let us know that he started from his own end so that people could see that there is nothing hidden about it. Where many buildings made way for the dualization project, and many cried foul that their homes have been taken over or run over by the government. Well, let's talk about Nnewi, because Nnewi, the land of gold and Edo. There are facts about Nnewi that will interest you, because Nnewi existed as an independent kingdom until British occupation in 1904. And there are so many things that can make anybody believe that Nnewi is not where it should be presently. Remember, Nnewi is one of the Africa's best examples of indigenous industrialization, unlike many industrial cities that grew through government projects. Much of Nnewi's development was driven by local entrepreneurs and family businesses, likes of Ekenendowa. Many of them, the cable industry, a lot of industries. The once Japan of Africa, Nnewi is to Japan of Africa. I remember when Nnewi was started to be the Japan of Africa. The truth remains that it seems to be growing at a very slower pace. Remember, Nnewi's industrialization was largely a post-Civil War phenomenon. After the Nigerian Civil War, many Nnewi businessmen who lost assets elsewhere redirected their investments back home, leading to the rise of one Nnewi and the manufacturing revolution at that very place. Well, I could recall that Nnewi was recognized as the largest inland town in eastern Nigeria in the 1953 census, and this was before its modern industrial booms. And that shows that Nnewi's importance predates the spare parts trade. Having noticed some of these facts and these points, where is Nnewi today? Where is Nnewi today? I remember in 1991, Nnewi was mapped out to be one of the major cities in Anambra State. Is Nnewi truly living to that status it was accorded in 1991?
So what accounted for the stunted growth
a
or
lot
development?
Of things, a lot of things. Poor investment, bad leadership, and not planning for the future. I have just told you that very area was rated as one of the growing, in fact, one of the fastest growing cities post-Civil War.
But how can the government do it now? Because when you go to most towns, you see that there could be original master plan, but when development comes, these master plans are hardly followed. And when we now see a city that has grown into a level where you now have concentration in some areas, if you want to regenerate, how difficult would that be?
Well, because we know very well that here government policies are not backed by legislation. I have said it many times, because once policy is not backed by legislation, any government that comes on, we abandon it. But if it's backed by legislation, it becomes an incumbent upon the new government to work on the provisions of law. It becomes something he cannot reject, not because he doesn't like it. And this affected strategic growth in Nnewi. And if you look around, most policies there, they are just mere government policies. That's why I've said many times, we must back most policies by law in a way that new government will not abandon that. And it happened to Nnewi, and Nnewi is a very clear example of such scenario. But having said some of these things, Nnewi, there are so many things that town actually needs. I have said it many times that as a kingdom, because I remember during the 15th century, that was during the time the formation of Nnewi Kingdom was 1438. By date, 1438, and you can recall how many centuries away, but we know very well that in Port Triangle, I've been there many times, because before now, that land was contested by different stakeholders in Nnewi. The president in Port Triangle have visited that place many times. It was contested by so many people, but there was a landmark ruling, there was a court ruling on that very issue. If not that, government wouldn't have been doing what government is doing there. And it's affected a lot of things because of largely contestation. By now, the shopping mall ought to have been up and running, but it is not. I have said it that is because of largely land dispute. Nnewi is not that too big. If you look at Nnewi North as a case study, it's about 54 square kilometers. That's entire Nnewi North. But if you have to join the surrounding urbanized communities, because Nnewi is also bounded by Orifite, of course, there are so many other smaller towns that are bounded by Ozobolo, and some of them. If you join some of these urbanized communities, it could be around 500 square kilometers, and it has a population exceeding 1 million people. That's very flags by last estimate. And if you go by present estimate, the population over there could be nearing 2 million by new, and that tells you that that very area is yearning for growth, for development. And there are a lot of things government should also look into apart from the mall. Yes, we know we have the teaching hospital, which has been shifted to be somewhere at the place between Ozobolo and Nnewi, currently speaking.
Between Nnewi and
Orifite, sorry.
Yeah,
so that's where it is now. But nevertheless, I'm looking at that area to be potentials not tapped. And you ask me, why wouldn't that place has a modern international convention and exhibition center, an industrial technology park, a dedicated automotive testing and research center? That very place should have an automotive research center, because Nnewi is the place Nigeria had their first automotive industry many years back. Why wouldn't there be a metropolitan transport terminal? A metropolitan transport in Nnewi? I'm even thinking by now that place should have a world-class stadium. Yes.
He mentioned that Nnewi has to have a park, leisure park, where people can go and relax. Perhaps he's thinking about replicating something similar to Fun City in Nnewi. He also mentioned inter and intra park, that there has to be a good terminal for inter and intra transport services in Nnewi. He also mentioned that shopping mall has been abandoned, that is going to be converted to something else. And then they see how they can explore some other places that have not been used for a new city that is going to develop.
Let me shock you. We don't have flyover in Nnewi. Look at the traffic congestions, especially at that Izuchukwu Parks. Tell me, why wouldn't we have a flyover around that Izuchukwu? Flyovers are built up in cities.
So doing that now that we have concentration development in Nnewi in the outskirts.
Yeah.
And those places where you have development, it's like a built-up area now. If you go to Bank Road, you understand what I mean, and some other places. So how is government going to do this now? Would the cost be too much at this point in time?
For me, Nnewi, they have billionaires. Nnewi is one town that has the highest number of billionaires in Nigeria. Nnewi is one town that has the highest number of millionaires per square meter. They have people. They have capacity. But one thing I know for sure is that some of them don't like committing their personal money into something that will benefit the public. I remember those days when we were growing up. There is this song we usually sang those days when we were small. Ndi nwere ego na Nnewi. Then Volvo was the running vehicle. Then when we were growing up, we would sing Volvo car na Nnewi. That's where you're gonna get it. See, I don't know. And there are times there was this aphorism when we were growing up that now Makabi Ife, so place, let me not call it town, or the can get in a Nnewi. So I don't want to be comparing towns that are very witty, hardworking, industrial. I don't know how, because it takes a government to bring these people into this partnership. Because for me, it's going to be partnership. It's not something the government may do alone. We need to transform that very city, no doubt. That very city can be a good tourism site. It has a lot of tourism potentials. It has historical artifacts. I will stop at this place.
Okay, so let's not get to Owo. Yes, the Federal High Court in Abuja sentenced 4 men to death by hanging for their roles in the June 5, 2022 attack on St. Francis Catholic Church Owo in Ondo State. That very attack left not less than 40 persons dead, and those who were injured were more than 100. This thing happened, should I say, it's up to 5 years now. That was on June 5, 2022, and now we are in 2026, close to 5 years. Yeah. And the judgment came yesterday. But the interesting thing is that these people were arraigned in August 2025, and judgment came less than a year after that. Yeah. And listening to the prosecution counsel, he said DSS did thorough investigation, and that was why the judgment came that very way. According to him, they were expecting the outcome to be that very way because they knew that the evidences DSS presented, they were watertight. Can we say that justice has been served in this very case, Tony?
For me, yes. And I looked around the proceeding yesterday. You must commend the prosecution and even the judge, Justice Emeka Nwite, who handed the death sentence. But I also have to acknowledge that one of the suspects was actually discharged and acquitted for having no link to the entire issue. But having said that, well, it took time, no doubt. Because if you remember that very incident, I could recall the gory pictures. I can imagine these things. It was very, very disturbing, very, very alarming when it happened. And I also listened to the governor of Ondo State, Ayeritewa, where he actually held the judgment. About 48, I think more than 50 persons lost their lives. It was Pentecost Sunday, if you could recall. And we are told that these terrorists, they were linked to Al-Shabaab militant groups. They came, detonated improvised explosive devices right inside the church, opened fire on worshippers. It happened in Ondo State. All precisely. Of course, there will be a memorial. I will tell the government of Ondo State to constitute a memorial for such gory incidents. It should be annually. But I'm looking at the pictures, but I believe that the persons convicted, they are not just the people involved in the entire saga. There were others, but where are they? Many of them are still at large. Many. It was a coordinated attack. It was spontaneous. We can feel and measure the spontaneity of such gory incidents. Yes, to an extent, justice seems to have been served, but not holistically and comprehensively served. Because we're going to talk about the families of victims. Have we been doing anything to support the families? Because my concern, yes, what has happened has happened. What has government done for victims' family. Many breadwinners were killed. Many destinies were shattered. Have we done anything to rejuvenate, reawaken these destinies so shattered that we are brought to our abrupt end by the activities of this evil? You know, these people, they are evil men. We are talking about justice. Justice can be said to be fully served by the time that the victim families have been well attended to.
So is it a plus to the fight against terrorism?
Well, for me, it's a good sign. It is a good sign, but I'm more concerned about the victim's family. Because here in this country, we are not really concerned about victims. And we have not come up with any legislation that will support victims of terrorist attacks, victims of terrorism. We have not done as a country. It's a shame.
Okay, so for us to leave this very matter, let's just give you the summary that the attack on St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church in Owo actually occurred on 5th of June 2022. Then the Federal High Court in Abuja delivered judgment that was yesterday, being June 3, 2026. 4 defendants were convicted and sentenced to death by hanging, while 1 defendant was acquitted. So if you look at the timeline, just for us to speak to the fact, because I mentioned five years before, but look at it now. The attack happened on 5th June 2022, and judgment came on June 3rd, 2026. So if you look at the time that elapsed, it's 3 years, 11 months, and 29
approximately
days.
4 years.
So
4 years.
essentially, yeah, just about 2 days short of 4 years.
4 years.
But for the actual trial, the suspects were arraigned in August 2025, and then judgment came yesterday, meaning that it lasted for roughly 10 months.
And for me, because if you look at the convicted men, Idris Abdul Malik, 25 years. Al Qasim Idris, 20 years. Jamil Abdul Malik, 26 years. And Abdul Halem Idris, 25 years. If you look at these people, you find out they were on a mission. On a mission to conquer, to take over. And we are saying that things are not happening. There is a clandestine move going on, and that's why everybody should be very careful. Everybody should be conscious of some of these developments. There is a mission to take over, and look at, you can easily point out where they are coming from, because they didn't come to kidnap or demand for ransom. They come to not just annihilate, obliterate, but to also conquer the lands. Exactly what happened.
Okay, so let's look at the case of Lere Olayinka, the aide to the Minister of FCT, Nyesom Wike. We talked about him yesterday, and that leak of data of data of Emeki Ike as a voter. And he still talked about, or we asked questions why he had not been arrested or called in for questioning. But from what we have this very morning, from the report on Punch and some of the newspapers, that yesterday he was gripped by the police. Likewise, the INEC officer who gave in that very report that told them we were questioned. But guess what? Olayinka was allowed to go, while the INEC official was detained over the alleged unauthorized release of a voter registration record. Now, I don't know, Tony, if you have the information about what transpired between Olayinka and the president, because from what we gathered, that Olayinka was saying that he didn't do it himself. Rather, it was an INEC official who reached out to him on Facebook via a messenger, telling him that he can provide such information, and such information was provided, and he never knew that it's a breach of anybody's privacy or data protection. So, Tony, how do we explain this?
Well, ignorance of the law is never an excuse. That he didn't know that it was a breach of data policy or a breach of someone's privacy. Somebody who has boasted repeatedly that he is an award-winning journalist. I remember when he was trying to school one of these private TV presenters, telling him that he has got nothing in journalism, and somebody who prides himself to be guru in journalism does not even know what is breach of privacy or data breach. You can't tell me this. You cannot tell me this. Sometimes there are times people may arrogate to themselves what they're not. Only time tells, because time is an ultimate judge. Time is an ultimate judge, and that is exactly what is going on now. But I'm concerned why that he conspired with the INEC official. He was the one that did this thing out. He was not just because he was not arrested, he was invited, he was squeezed. If you hear that kind of thing, it means that there is partiality, and the INEC official was detained. If INEC official we are to be detained, he should also be detained, because both of them conspired. This is a case of breach of not just privacy, data breach, but conspiracy of sorts. He was the one that even uploaded it on the internet. He uploaded it. For me, he should be arraigned. The idea is to serve as deterrence to those who, for them, think that everything is politics, everything goes. Yes, because he cannot claim ignorance. It's not about short attacking anybody that has any opposite political views.
Now, so, Tony, where we are going to cascade this is, what does this say about people? Because I have read two accounts. The two accounts I read, they have some commonalities. One commonality is the fact that there was an exchange between the lawyer Olayinka and the INEC official via Facebook Messenger. The INEC official contacted him via Messenger, telling him he can put up the information out there. Because what led to this was the fact that the Mekike led a protest to INEC office on the day of the NDC primary election, where he alleged that INEC officials were colluding with some corrupt NDC official to rig the election in someone's favor. We saw the video of what Mekike did. So in the heat of that very thing, the INEC official now found that they were being unfairly criticized, and went on to pull the information and then reach out to Olayinka, telling him that he has information about so and so, that he can push it out. And the reason he reached out to Olayinka was the fact that Olayinka had posted about the protest on social media, and that was how they got in conversation, exchanged WhatsApp numbers, and then he shared the information to him via WhatsApp. This is according to information coming from inside sources within the police force, who are aware about what has been going on. But looking at this, sometimes before somebody reaches out to you for such information, the person might have known the kind of person you are, or the person might have an idea or perception about who you are, whether you are going to accept this or that. So, how did Olayinka play into that very hand, knowing that such information is not something you can just get by anybody?
For me, just like I have said earlier on, that story is completely non sequitur. It does not follow. It does not tally. It is incoherent, disjointed, but self-contradictory. I have said it many times that aide and abettor, they are all the same thing. They're all party to the crime is of. Remember, let me put this in before you go on to say what you want to say. The crime was allegedly committed by who? Leonard Olayinka. We are now talking about those who aided him in committing such crime. Who committed the crime? Leonard Olayinka. And now you look inwards, you will find out that those who aided him must have also committed other atrocities relating to eventual crime he committed.
So if we're going to go further, two questions. Number one is how this is being handled. Olayinka, in fact, he confirmed that he was invited to come to the police, yes, and he was questioned, yeah, and allowed to go. Then the INEC official is being detained. Two things. two people who were involved in an act and different treatment for the two. That's number one. The number two is the fact that how sure are we that we do not have INEC officials who sell our data to people who pay them for that?
That is the exposition. And we have said it many times, two persons were involved in a crime. One person detained. One person was allowed to go free because he has the protection of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. And he could be said to be participes criminis. Particip criminis means participant in a crime. That is what is the meaning of participes criminis. From the look of things, from surface, we can deduce, observe, establish actus reus, mens res. From the look of everything, Leroy is in pari delicto. There's no need digging so much about this, because I've said yesterday nothing will happen to him. He will walk away free. Did I say that yesterday? I did. Are we going to see that? We are going to see. For those who are putting so much energy, investing so much time in this case, see it as dead on arrival. Nothing will come out of it.
Okay, so let's go to the issue of insecurity. The kidnappings that happened in Oyo State, they have been at the front burner. People have been talking about it, and you seem to have forgotten that there were also abductions that happened in Borno State, and school children were also involved. As we were discussing these very ones, then we heard about other abductions in Borno State, where they said 7-month-old baby was among the 13 people who were abducted by terrorists in Borno State. If you check the papers too, you will hear that bandits abducted 6 polytechnic students in Zamfara. And we have lawmakers who have been crying out about this. If you begin to check the papers, you also see that there are some other issues of insecurity on daily basis. Anytime you open the papers, anytime you open the radio, tune in your radio, turn television, issues of insecurity, and in most cases now is about abductions. If they didn't happen on the road, they happen in schools, and everybody's talking about it now. In fact, for 2 days now, we have seen the Senate talking about the same thing. Yes, they came up, and Adams Shomole raised the issue of the need for the Senate to do an audit of the military, and it was shut down. It was rejected, saying that for now, all attention should be on finding a way to rescue those who are in the kidnappers' den. So, Tony, this issue of insecurity, at a point in time, personally, I become tired of talking about it, because sometimes it sounds like a rhetoric whereby every day you talk about the same thing and nothing seems to be changing. Now that the Senate is talking about the Safe School Initiative, they're saying that the gaps in that initiative need to be closed. Have you been able to identify the gaps that need to be closed in that initiative if eventually we are going to make out anything from this?
Well, we talked about this extensively yesterday, issue of Safe School Initiatives, and we've said that leaders from all there is a way I usually phrase it most time. If you're saying our Lord's Prayer, towards the concluding part, you also have two very important things, two important prayers. You ask that you be protected from all evil, and then the other one has to do with temptation. And once you avoid your first one, the second one is not needed. I have said it many times. There was a time I said that I will stop talking about anything in security until we do what is needed. And I say there is no security in this country. There are spaces ungoverned. Do you know that if you have criminal intent, there are many rural communities in this country you can go kill as much as you want for hours without resistance? Yes, without resistance. And somebody's telling me safe school this, safe school that. Look at our Senate. Of course, they should be planning for the next holiday. Well, Oshimunu was talking about accounting for what has been appropriated for Senate. When last did the National Assembly account for what has been appropriated for to it as well? Because he who goes to equity must come with clean hand. Because when he may be saying, we must account or did the finances or money, appropriated money released to the military for some time period, they will be also in their own backyard saying the Senate should also appropriate. There will be an audit for your own case. It's a case of quid pro quo. Are we not all in this game? Oh, you want our own to be audited and you don't want your own to be audited.
Now he said that on several occasions on that Senate House that they had previous resolutions passed. But they need to question to know how many of those resolutions that were implemented. If not, making another resolution would just be like, dumping papers in the refuse bin, Tony.
The Senate resolution over time, I've seen it as maybe academic resolutions, theoretical resolutions. That's why I've always observed it. Some of the resolutions have always been academical. And I have not been able to see anything positive coming out of it, even when they sing on your mandate. It is time now to also sing on your mandate. We are at the crossroad. We are at the precipice. And for now, I listened to some of them yesterday. So many of them were saying that nothing said was new. They have been repeating themselves like broken gramophone. And it's a refrain of such that peddles on truth to remain relevant. We keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. That is insanity, as we have described and defined many times. And we have given proposal. We have all of a sudden nobody's talking about the town police, community police, state police. Mr. President was quick to push, and we are told that states have finalized their own reports and states are ready. What is stopping it? Okay. As we speak now, I have said it many times that look at what happened. Was it yesterday? Suspected criminals, bandits, terrorists attacked an off-campus student residence in low-cost area of Karanamoda, Zamfara State. They abducted, seized, I think some reports say 7 students of the Federal Polytechnic Karanamoda, and the attackers stormed the hostel. This happened yesterday or 2 days ago. I think either yesterday or 2 days ago. They stormed the hostel. They fired gunshots. They took the students away. We are told that one of the students reportedly escaped. We are told that the incident occurred despite the hostel proximity to a security checkpoint. The hostel is very close to a security checkpoint. And these people came with motorcycle again. They came with motorcycle, firing shots close to security checkpoint and cutting away these students. And as we speak now, they have been taken to the bushes. That's exactly what we are talking about. I have given a case of how Sri Lanka defeated terrorism, and it was the clearest. We may look and review and see if we can take anything from it. After more than 25 years, the Sri Lankan government military defeated what we call the LTTE in 2009 through sustained military operations, intelligence gathering, disruption of funding network, and control of territory previously held by these insurgents, and disruption of their supply chains, coordinated intelligence, taking over spaces ungoverned, deployment of technology. That's what Sri Lanka did. And if you go back to that very country now, you will of course see how things are turning around. But for 25 years, they were in this captivity, they were in this madness.
Tony, what happened in Sri Lanka? Would it work in Nigeria, given that these two countries, look at the size, look at the makeup, you see the difference. Take, for instance, if you look at the landmass of Sri Lanka, it's about 62,610 square kilometers. And Nigeria is doing 923,768 square kilometers. just in land mass.
Okay.
Population, Sri Lanka, 22 to 23 million. Nigeria is 230 million plus. That means that Nigeria has about 10 times more people than Sri Lanka. Look at the ethnic composition. Sri Lanka has a relatively small number of major ethnic groups. We can identify about 4 of them. The Moors, who are the Muslims, about 9%. The Indian Tamils, they are about 4%. Look at the Sri Lankan Tamils, about 11%. And the Sinhalese, about 74 to 75%. Then you compare it to Nigeria. Nigeria has about over 250 ethnic groups. Then you have the major ones known as the dominant ones and what have you not. So if you look at these differences, if we copy the, let's say, are we going to copy them, knowing that we have differences in terms of these indices I just mentioned?
Well, for me, if you look at those things, now tell me, in any of these things I mentioned that Sri Lanka did, how many have we done? And then start measuring if we have been able to do it well or not. We've not done any. We've not. But by the way,
in Nigeria, like in Sri Lanka now, they have one major ethnic group, the Sinhalese. They make up about 74%. Perhaps they might easily come to a unity of purpose and be able to do that. They might not have so much interest to protect.
Okay.
They now come to Nigeria where you have different ethnic groups and everybody's trying to protect his or her brother.
Let me also, you are talking about Sri Lanka. I want to go deep into this, but time will not be on our side. But let's take you to Brazil. How many ethnic groups do we have in Brazil? Over 300 ethnic groups. Brazil is closely related to us in terms of population, about 213 or 214. There was a time that we are bigger than us in terms of population, but right now we have overtaken them, even though we don't have an official census data. And it's in Brazil. What have they done in defeating terrorism? Follow the money, because they believe that criminal and terrorist organizations, those with mission, they need financing. What is our NFIU doing? Because that's the bodies statutorily vested with powers of following the money. If you cut their supply chain, because we know that, look at Chad, look at Benin Republic, look at Niger, and the sympathy arising from some of these people. I know that Brazil created structures that bring together intelligence, and then intelligence coming from both security agencies and military agencies, put them together. They did a lot, and they would not divulge a lot of things they did to us, but now they are safe. I'm saying, because we know one thing here, there is this mission. I've said it many times. This tribe, of course, many of them from Senegal or Gambia, they want to infiltrate the country, dominate, conquer. It's a mission. I've said it many times. It's a mission. There was a time we shouted over some of these things and we downplayed it. A particular set of people allowed to roam around with AK-47, with all manner of sophisticated weapons. And at times they commit these things in the presence of security agents. They look untouchable. They appear untouchable. In Igbo land, there is this saying, Okenyamari Iguana Baho. It's a big adage.
Okay.
It's not that we don't know what to do.
Okay.
The political will.
Okay, so Tony, if you look at the Oyo situation, yes, the members of the House of Assembly, they reconvened from the recess and they sat and said that no negotiation with the terrorists, that it should be state government find a way to collaborate with federal government to ensure that these people are released in any other manner outside negotiating to pay ransom. And from what we gathered, I think from Vanguard newspaper, that these terrorists are demanding that their members who are in detention should be released for them to free those children and the teachers that they have been in their custody. I read what somebody wrote somewhere. He said he's not against government paying ransom to get these very people freed because their lives are in danger, but he's against government paying ransom and allow terrorists to enjoy the ransom?
You know, I have said it many times that we don't even have legislation on issue of ransom payment. And if you go back to the Senate, they were making resolutions. They were asked to make laws. They were not asked to make resolutions. They were asked to make laws. And I have not seen where we've seen some laws shot out, even when not obeyed. They have not sent strong signal that terrorism is not allowed in this country. But outside some of the things we've said, because we can keep on saying all these things, we must govern spaces. We must police public spaces. We must bring security presence. And we must make sure that the people take ownership of such security, because if they do not, there will be filtration, there will be sabotage. Just like we were talking about the abduction in Karanamoda, where we are told that the hostel was very close to security checkpoint, and that tells you a lot. Because if you look at those at that security checkpoint, they may not come from that very state. They may have a similar, they may, of course, it's imagination. They could have sympathy for those who were committing the crime, attacking the students. Well, we know what to do.
Okay, so let's not get to what Obi said yesterday. Yesterday was Wednesday, and it was the next meeting of the NDC. And at that very meeting, I saw Aisha Yusuf, speaking to some members of the National Working Committee of NDC. She spoke about how things went in the party, how the party didn't allow a ground. She said she wasn't asking for a level playing ground, but she was asking for a ground for her to stand on and they test her mettle. And then she raised the issue of some person saying that she was new in the party. She can't just come from the outside and then begin to make a stake in that very party. But her point was that the primaries that NDC conducted weren't anything to write home about. And after the next meeting of yesterday, P2B appealed to all aggrieved members of the party who took part in the primaries for them to sheath their sword and allow peace to reign. He said that they should accept whatever happened in the interest of peace in that very party. And people are asking questions. So is there any difference in political parties we have? When will the parties begin to get it right? Because many persons know or believe that whatever we try to do in this very country in terms of our democracy, if parties fail to get it right, it will be hard for the country to get it right. So with what we have seen in these very primaries, how APC went about its own, NDC went about, ADC went about, ABGA went about, these parties, do they have the moral ground to criticize INEC?
Well, I don't know if they have any moral ground to criticize INEC, because we've talked about internal democracy and have said many times that you are not going to expect anything different or anything new from NDC. It's going to be business as usual. I've said it many times, and when I said it, some people did not understand what I was saying. But most times when I say things like this, I'll still be vindicated. But the point remains that the parasitic nature of political parties and what we've seen so far has permeated across board. Political parties are products of the society. The society is what it is, and you expect a political party to be association of sense. No, they cannot. They are products of the society. And having noted that, until we begin these reforms I have mentioned, Mirisinisi Webalo, the whole thing started at top. And even the government, everybody has joined in this desecration of our lands. Metaphorically, we have caused enough of these desecrations. You don't expect anything, if not for the fact that the video went viral that Aisha Yusuf was saying, crying foul, that she was not even provided a ground, not to talk of level playing ground. Well, for me, it's an internal party affair, it's a family affair. You saw them in that very space discussing their issue. It's their issue. It's a family affair.
So would it come at a cost? I mean, what happened in the party? Would it come at a cost because Nigerians looked on the party as the hope of the last resort. But from what happened in the primary, it seems like some Nigerians are disappointed.
Yes, the party is not messianic. It is not messianic. I've said it many times. But they may be the lesser evil. That's the issue. They are not messianic in every sense. With all due respect, of course, many of them moved. We are seeing Omo-Agege moved from APC and back to NDC. For the fact he has joined NDC, he has become a saint. Is that the point you're trying to make?
And let's even talk about what he said yesterday. He said that he endorsed P2B, but he supports policies of Tinubu. So how does that put that in political space?
He tells you that he is using NDC as a special purpose vehicle.
So can he be trusted?
How can he trust him? He feels that Oboroweri outwitted him in APC, not because of anything. And he is trying to use NDC. Once he gets to the Senate, Omo-Agege will defect back to APC.
Now,
once he uses NDC to be elected as a senator representing Delta Central senatorial district, he will defect back to APC. That is exactly the meaning of the statement he made yesterday.
Now, before even getting to the point of if he wins or when he wins, from the outing he had on TV yesterday, if you look at it critically, you might see that he's trying to show that he has some political muscles. He talked about how he was able to fight for APC against PDP in that very party, how he candidate won the last election, what have you not. He talked about the number of followership he has and what have you not. And then he made a statement in respect to supporting the policies of Mr. President. What's the possibility that he could be in the NDC and the APC reaches out to him to work for the president for the presidential election, that he could work for APC?
Well, for me, I've said it many times that he's still in communion with APC. It could be Holy Communion, it could be unholy communion. But the most important thing is that he is in communion with APC. His statement yesterday underpins that fact. He's a politician, no doubt. I remember his atrocities during the days of Saraki and the things he committed. Even those things were swept under the carpet. As we're going to see that of Leroy Layenka being swept under the carpet. For me, you look at the policies Nigerians are actually criticizing, causing severe pain, causing untold hardship. He's in support of.
Now, so did you see the video of interview of Daniel Bwala? He said Nigerians cannot feel the impact of the reforms of the government because Nigeria is too large.
Well, if the reforms cannot be felt because of the population or how big a country is, what is the need of embarking in that reform in the first instance? Any reform that could not give immediate turnaround or bring immediate impact in the first 3 years, you have to start reviewing such reform. People are crying. In fact, the worst disease that can befall any set of people is that of hunger.
Okay, so at this
and
point,
that's exactly what many Nigerians are passing through. But the fact remains that if you can quote the foreign reserve, quote the exchange rate, the truth remains: cost of feeding, cost of transportation, cost of housing. These 3 items are nowhere near any common man. They are above the roof. That's what it is.
okay, I talked about the cost of living, the hunger. Of course, he made reference to the MBS report, talking about what it costs to eat balanced diet in Nigeria now, 1,500 and something naira. And I was even asking myself if that survey was correct. But now we are going to go to the phone lines to take some calls. But before then, I'm just going to play you this very audio you listened, and then we take up the conversation, because Baba Dati Ahmed, the running mate to P2B in 2023, he had an interview, and the fun snippet from the interview, he made some comment that people have found somehow critical. Let's listen to this, and then we go to the phone lines.
I like what they did. 1993, the result wasn't even announced. Yes. As I speak to you today, there is no June 12 result. You can't show
that to have officially. It's not been classified yet. Yes.
What did they do? That's why I like them. Now you have Moshood Abiola Stadium. What you call Democracy Day is 12th of June. One of June 12 people is president because they didn't let go. Why was I not so happy with Peter Obi? To the extent I said, take Kwankwaso or Erufai and go. Because I was not happy with him. How can you let go?
So what Kenneth Okonkwo on this?
I hardly know what Kenneth Okonkwo is up to. I hardly know.
It's more or less the same thing.
Listen, I like the people who protect their rights. And you must give it to Tinubu's people. They defended their rights for how many years? 33 years now. But in defending their rights, they have also transgressed the rights of the Nigerians and others and others and others. I want you to understand me properly in context. Peter Obi threw it away. His people let it go. Up to now, I'm the only person still talking about constitutional breach. Imagine June 12 people, you breach their constitution. Nobody in the Western Hemisphere will sleep. Breach a punctuation, or not the constitution, a punctuation. They will chase you, and you must, be it 30 years, 33 years, they will get it back. And I like people like that, but I don't like it when they are the ones doing injustice. I don't like using the words. I don't like calling. We're all
pro-democracy activists.
I call it Tinubu people. The bottom line is he who will protect his right and fight for it is never the same as he who will let go. Democracy is for people who have earned their.
Okay, so they had that interview, and that interview was with a Symphony Media, and it was just a snippet. There are other audios, but we can't play them now because we need to open the phone lines to have your input into this very conversation. So we are going to go to the phone lines now, 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Don't forget that we are live on our Facebook page too. You can drop your comment on that platform, and we are going to acknowledge. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Josh, calling from Asota.
Josh, go on.
You see, this position of Dachi Baba Ahmed, it was exactly my position. If the speaker, that Mr. Attorney Secretary will remember, because I thought that morning that they rushed to announce the results when we are still sleeping. This morning we go into the streets. That's what they call revelation. By now, Tinubu won't be in the office. They said no. They carry plasma to courtroom to show CCTV. Do this one, do that one. This is my result. Where you don't have agents in the polling booth. So something like this to solve Nigeria problem. It's not by the law, because you have the opportunity to review your mandate during the time of Anamba. Anamba is different. We're talking about the whole country here. You would have leave the citizens to take their destiny in their own hands. I believe that by today, either this nonsense democracy that we are practicing is over, or we have seen bigger change in this country. So P2B, let it go. 100%, because this is my position from the day one, and that is why I'm even angry now that he and Atiku have started that rubbish that they did that last time to divide the vote of the masses. At the end of the day, this man will rig the way into the place again. And I was saying P2B was saying the other day that this case is very different than this time around. What exactly are you going to do? Is he going to believe in the court? So that is why I'm saying that it's not only telling people to go and vote, and collect your voter's card. Yes, as a journalist, it's what you're supposed to do. At least it's part of your job. But the major issue here is that as and we vote finish and have exactly the result that we will vote for. Not just for people to stand protect. How can I protect my vote? I'm going to protect after you do your counting in the polling booth and not follow you to the INEC office in the night where so many things will happen. So we're in a big mess in this country.
Thank you, Josh. Even to some extent, I think you had yourself contradicted, because when somebody tells you, okay, just hold on. When somebody tells you to protect your vote. It means a whole lot. Depends on how you understand it. Hello, good morning.
Wonderful morning to you, Franklin.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome aboard.
And I'm bringing you from Onitsha.
Okay.
Going straight to the point here, who should be held responsible for insecurity in Nigeria? Is it not the president of the country, commander-in-chief? Am I the commander-in-chief of the armed forces in Nigeria? When they took their protest to Washington, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was there. When they protested in 2012, Bola Ahmed Tinubu was there. Commander-in-chief should be held responsible. Any breach of insecurity in a state, government should be held responsible. Your topmost priority should be the protection of lives and property. In a situation you fail to protect life, what are you still looking for second tenure? Who will even vote for you if not for your rigging machine? These things will tell you that, when you visited Plateau, you did not end up in the airport, fighting an electricity problem. And this is a man that is trying to come back and do what? All this, anybody that wants to shine, you just mention this. Look at Tati Babame, former senator, who have known him before. They just P2B picked him up and because Senator Kongwa today is shining because people like to refer, each time he talks about P2B, Reno Mokri is an ambassador, courtesy of P2B. How many people, hang on P2B to get into the Senate and the House of Reps? They should appreciate the man. If we are in a civilized country, they should be singing his praises.
All right.
A former governor that doesn't collect a dime from a state. Tell me any governor that left Kobo in office and left. This is a man that we should cherish. It's a man that Nigerians should be yearning for. Nigerians are yearning for him. NDC primary, whether direct or indirect, is the best of all them. Okay, look at the situation that's from 1,000 to 20,000.
All right, DK,
that
will be all.
The coming generation? It's unfortunate. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, DK. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, your name?
This Sunday, calling from his blood.
Sunday, go on.
APC have conducted their tramway, and INEC are there as observers. Security people come there and see what happens. ADC the same thing, NDC the same thing, Africa the same thing. And INEC come there as an observer. And they are about that. Now, in general election, all those parties will come back to blame INEC. All those parties will come back and blame INEC if we did not conduct credible elections. None of these parties conduct credible elections within their party. They call it family affairs. Forgetting that INEC is their representative as observers watching. Please, if we don't get political party right in this nation, see this democracy, we can never get it right. Because it's the pipeline to the power. If you don't get credible people from inside to come outside, and we are waiting that president is as up, change the system, then can never change the system they are benefiting from. Until people put the good ones inside the party and make the party to be stable, that right thing will be done in the party, when you go to the general election, the right thing will be done. But if it's this way, what happens will happen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, try again, please. The phone lines are 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Who do we have?
Yeah, my speaker. Good morning.
You're welcome.
This is Akamere.
Go on.
Yeah, and I'm calling from Fegit.
Okay.
Yeah. Akamere is calling from Fegit. I want to react on what that the vice president of the one that follow P2B to run for running mate.
Okay.
What he said, I want to say he doesn't know what he's saying. Because I remember when P2B left Labour Party, he was telling us that even if P2B return back to Labour Party, he will still step down and allow him to continue his position. And he's now telling us that P2B talking one thing. Because as I was listening to my speaker, I was saying in my mind that what this man is saying is nonsense.
Maybe they have given him money.
Okay.
So that
Hello.
I'm hearing you.
Okay. Let me repeat this again. When we are on radio to talk, there are some words we employ for decency and not to insult people's sensibilities.
All right.
Okay, please,
I'm very sorry for that statement. But I think he doesn't know what he's saying. So let's see what will happen. And on the insecurity, I'm saying it here. I'm talking it on this platform. My brother, go to all these things that they are uploading on WhatsApp, sending it on social media. If you talk against a governor or president now, you will see DSS, they will come and arrest you. They will come just looking for you. But this bandits will be sending something and they can't locate where these people are. I don't think these people are serious with this insecurity.
All right.
Thank you, man.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So he talked about people Nigeria being serious with insecurity, how bandits operate, and nobody gets to track them.
That's the issue. If you look around on TikTok, look at what these bandits are doing. They say they are not bandits; they are forest traders. That you should not call them bandits; they are forest traders. And one of them was quick to say that he spent over 50 million naira on TikTok live. That they always cause us. Pray we get apprehended by the military, but you are interested in our money. Now ransom we take, they make money. All of una no, and they always condemn our actions, but it's time for giveaway. And you people are sending your account details for us. That's one of the bandits. And then they said, well, something that many people are finding so funny. And one of them went on TikTok live and said, Tinubu, we are coming for you and your son and your family. Our sponsor said we should pick you. We are now coming to Abuja to pick you up soon. If you don't pay $50 million, you'll be taken and nothing will happen. These people, they are threatening the president. If you go on X now, it's trending. And these people are always on TikTok. They are not always on X, they're always on TikTok. And they are saying they're doing giveaway. And Nigerians are sending their account details. And they are spending about 50 million naira on TikTok live daily. But when they pray against them, cost them. But when they bring account, they give giveaway that they are forest traders. Funny things.
Well, the people who are sending their account, maybe they are ghost Nigerians. Hello, good morning. Okay, all right, try again. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning, my chief speaker, Sunday.
You're welcome.
The voice of Honorable James Mayor, Baby Okulola, Ochendo, Umezenika.
Yes,
let me go straight to the point because of time. I have said it, time without number. This business of kidnapping and paying ransom is between so many top government officials and people. Tony, please, I want to ask you, how can somebody steal my money, then tell me where to pay another money, then and tell me where to bring it? I take it there without trying to know how I will apprehend that person. Is that possible? So, I don't know what is wrong with Nigeria. See, every day when you wake up, you will hear kidnapping. It are not changed the way Nigeria people are doing things. I'm telling you, there will come a time when Nigerians will be running helter-skelter for our lives. Because the people that are supposed to defend us are not. They are the people that are behind all this mess and all this business. Now, you will see. I pray that we pay this ransom and bring our children back. I'm not saying that ransom is the issue. What will government do to apprehend these people? Because I knew this means that law has been made, not calling these people terrorists, this one. All of them are committing crime. Let there be law that anybody that did for that will be hanged and killed. And you see this thing we saw.
Okay.
This one, you will see government will be making them do this, do that. So I want to ask you, if we pay ransom for this and continue this way, are we not sponsoring this people?
All right, thank you. The issue of making a law where somebody does this and the person is going to be hanged. I think we should consult the law, because the penalty for terrorism, murder, they are all capital punishment. They are all there already codified in our law. So I don't know the law we're talking about again to be made. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tony.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my name is David. I'm calling you from Ozem,
Go on, Mr. David.
Yeah, thank you. On that of Ahmed, I've always said it on this platform, and anytime I have opportunity or I'm privileged to contribute, that all Nigerian politicians lack political principle and ideology. They are just opportunists or political opportunists. That's all what I call them. Because when we look at the first, second, and third republic, we have had some politicians who stood up and were counted for their belief, for their principle belief on their political ideology. They will stand with it. You know, Dr. Alex Ekweme late is an example. Former Kaduna State Governor is another one. Former late Rimi. All these are late. Ali, you understand? But today, we find it so difficult to find a cogent politician who believes in the ideology of his political party. And that's why we are getting this. So I'm not surprised on his comment. Okay. Then on the insecurity, my friend, Honorable Dike, when there is any good thing, it is the head. When there is any bad report, it is also the head that suffers. So the president should gear up and mobilize resources to make sure that this insecurity comes to an end. At least, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for joining. I think let's get to our Facebook page now. We acknowledge that and see how much time we have. Yusuf Ali says those terrorists that were sentenced to death were they of Nigerian origin, because one of them is called Omeiza. Well, if I'm going to answer you, Omeiza is a name traceable to Kogi State. You know, people of Ebira or Ibira in Kogi State. That name is very common among them. It's a name given to male children. Then Omo-Agege says court sentence 4 terrorists to death over Owo church attack. That's a good one. However, more effort should be geared towards tracking more terrorists and bandits operating in this country. Don Deja Vu says the safe school scheme is a conduit pipe for politicians to siphon the country's wealth. It's neither protected. Okay, it neither protected the school nor the teachers and pupils. And Aloysius Odili from Umuobanam, he says police allowing Olayinka to go is the same injustice we are crying in this very country. This is a case of exposing official documents, which is a serious issue. But we know that since Wike is involved, it will end in nothing. I sympathize with the INEC staff because he is the one going to face the punishments. Secondly, the rate of kidnapping happening in Oyo State this time around is something that needs to be considered seriously. Other kidnapping of a woman and her child yesterday in the same state. Got to have the children. Well, the report I know, the one I know in the paper this very morning happened in Borno State. Also, Francis Omaganamani says he's watching from Amagunze. He says government should ensure prompt rescue of the kidnapped teachers and pupils in Oyo State. It's really devastating and worrisome. Retrato Bia Wicked Christopher from Abatan Suwe says, as for the 4 convicted terrorists who were sentenced to death, it must be ensured that their execution happens sooner, otherwise justice has not been completed. Looking at their ages, one can easily see that they were not alone in that crime. Their confessional statement must be used to trace others. That's only when full justice is served. And let's see if we can take some other reactions. It's from Mazingo Rechipadoromus Nachi. He says the Olayinka must be arraigned for conspiracy and criminality. The fair judgment being passed yesterday by Justice Mekan with concerning the killers who committed atrocities in St. Francis Owo is very commendable because it has, in a way, shown transparency and brought justice to the victims. And he's saying that he normally buys insala soup at the rate of 3,500. So we're trying to compare this with the stats which was put out by National Bureau of Statistics. Well, but if you want to buy, if you want to buy, what's it called again? African salad abacha from the local spot, it maybe might get at 1.5. I don't know.
Could that be balanced diet according to MBS?
You have your carbohydrate, you have your vegetables, the vitamins and what have you. You have your fats and oil. It might not be that, because sometimes this definition of a balanced diet could vary. You may be looking at those saturated food. It might not be there, but maybe it can.
And I think, Franklin, you mistake.
What's that?
Maybe balanced diet. Remember the key word, they're in good proportion.
That's what I'm saying.
If they are not in good proportion, even if their presence do not, the presence of all these nutrients.
I'm not backing the data from MBS. Okay. What I'm saying is for us to put our mind in a proper perspective that balanced diet does not mean that, we mentioned salad soup. Yeah. It doesn't mean that if you eat in salad soup, that means balanced diet.
I think we'll be talking about healthy food.
Exactly.
For me, it's much more important. And if you talk about healthy food, how much does it cost? That's the question.
So this very one is from Zakwa Celestine. He says that Baba Ahmed should go and sit down and continue to lick his wind. Who is he? Oh my goodness, he's asking who he was before P2B picked him up from to become his running mate. Well, he owns a Base University and some other things. So he says okay, so he's saying that he never expected the kind of remark that came from Baba Ahmed, knowing that he seems to be like a gentleman. But he says, my advice to him is to move up with his political career instead of blaming P2B for his setbacks. And the Jeku Bishops says that Omo-Agege is okay. He said Omo-Agege seems to be confused. He said APC denied him their ticket, then he moved to NDC. NDC also denied him ticket, and now he is confused and he decided to place one leg here and one leg there. So Tony, we have to wrap up at this point in time. So lots of things that we have brought this very morning, and we can't keep talking. But when we keep on talking, how long would it take for our talks to make meaning and for the cries of Nigerians to touch the hearts of those who are supposed to take responsibility or take needed actions?
For me, if you look around, you can quickly observe one thing. Since we had this kidnapping incident in Oyo State and the one we had about 2 days ago in Zamfara State, what have we done? What measures have we taken? We've been talking, we have been wailing, we've been commenting. That's things we usually do. These are things we usually do, and it takes us nowhere. I had thought by now that the government ought to have taken concrete steps, measures. Whatever that was postponed before now ought to be committed to action. Exactly. But we are not seeing some of this. And then the question is, who is going to be next? Who is going to be next? We pray that God protects us, but God will always protect us if we do the right thing and ensure we protect ourselves.
Okay, so that's the charge this very morning. You have to protect yourself and to pray that those who are in authority should be able to do the right thing. And I tell us again today, it's high time we became conscious of our decisions when it comes to leadership, whether at your local government level, whether in your community, whether in your kindred, because each time we talk about leadership, we mention political leadership, but most times we make the same mistake even in our communities, where we know people who can actually engineer the real change. But because they have not done that money, because we think that they are not in the same clique with us, we ignore them and then get to enthrone those who in turn begin to persecute us. So it's high time we did a re-examination and know where we are coming from. On that very note, we thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow is going to be another edition, but we ask you to stay with us because we have lots of programs lined up for you till shutdown. Thank you, Tony. My name is Franklin Debuka. Good morning.